Berlin, 1948. The capital of Hitler's Third Reich was now a shattered, divided city. Located 100 miles inside Soviet-occupied East Germany, the city itself was split into 4 sectors, controlled by the US, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. To the west, Berlin was a symbol of freedom and resistance. To Stalin, it was a capitalist cancer embedded deep inside his sphere of influence. The Cold War was about to heat up. The trigger was money. In June 1948, the Western Allies introduced a new currency, the Deutschmark, into their zones of Germany and West Berlin. Stalin saw this as a threat. He wanted a weak, unified Germany under Soviet influence, not a prosperous Western alliance state. On June 24, 1948, Soviet forces cut all road, rail, and canal access to West Berlin. No food, no fuel, no supplies could enter the city by land. Over 2 million civilians were trapped. The Western Allies had 3 options. First, abandon the city, a betrayal of the Berliners. Second, fight their way in, risking a Third World War. Third, supply the city from the air, a logistical impossibility, according to military planners. General Lucius Clay, the US commander in Germany, famously said, "If we withdraw, we have lost. If we fight, we risk war. We must find another way." That way was the airlift. On June 26, 1948, the US Air Force launched Operation Vittles. The British followed with Operation Plain Fare. Planes carried coal, flour, medicine, and even Christmas gifts. The minimum daily requirement was 4,500 tons. At first, they delivered only 1,000 tons a day, but the airlift quickly accelerated. By the end of the year, American and British planes were landing at Tempelhof and Gotha airports, every few minutes, around the clock. The airlift became a symbol of hope. Lieutenant Gail Halvorsen, a US pilot, began dropping candy attached to tiny parachutes to children waiting near the runways. He became known as the Candy Bomber. Soon, thousands of care packages were dropped across West Berlin. For the children, the sound of an approaching plane meant not fear, but a small piece of joy. The human story of the airlift made it impossible for Stalin to win the propaganda war. The Soviets tried to disrupt the airlift. They sent fighters to buzz transport planes, launched weather balloons into flight paths, and conducted military exercises near the corridors, but they never fired a shot. Stalin understood that attacking unarmed cargo planes would mean war, a war he was not ready to fight. The air corridors were protected by international agreement. The Soviets harassed but never closed them. The worst challenge came in winter. Fog, ice, and freezing temperatures grounded many flights. Coal supplies ran low. Berliners burned whatever they could find, furniture, wood from bombed-out buildings, even paper. But the pilots kept flying. They flew through blizzards, often with no radio guidance, using only stopwatches and maps. By spring, the airlift was delivering over 8,000 tons a day, nearly twice the minimum requirement. On May 12, 1949, Stalin admitted defeat. The blockade was lifted. The Berlin airlift had lasted 324 days. In that time, 277,000 flights delivered over 2.3 million tons of supplies. 101 airmen and British servicemen had lost their lives in accidents, but not a single Berliner starved. The lesson is simple. The airlift showed that the West would not be bullied, that small acts of courage could defeat brute force, and that freedom sometimes arrives on the wings of cargo planes. Just the grit and the grind of war.